Being a property owner and a landlord, sometimes on social media, it might seem sexy, but it's not. When you're in the trenches, I want to share with you guys an email we literally just received. Ian, you probably haven't even read it yet. Welcome to another episode of the Refined Real Estate Podcast. Manny here with my co-host Ian. We are real estate investors based out of Halifax, Nova Scotia, but we invest North America wide. We want to thank you guys for tuning in this week. And just a quick little reminder that every single like and comment and subscription on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, wherever you're listening to this goes a long way. So please leave us some reviews. We appreciate it. This week, man, we have a couple of cool topics. One, we're going to go over this deal that we have in Cleveland, this 97 unit. We kind of talked about it last week, but we're going to go into some finer little cool details that we learned over the past week. And then we'll touch upon some news that the federal government here in Canada just released last week. And Ian will talk to us about some cool deals he has going on right now. But before we get into anything, Ian, how was your week?
Yeah, week was good. Busy as always. We'll get into it a little bit further. So we're really trying to dial in on this 97 unit building. So it's not just your regular due diligence that you do on like a duplex down the road. We're thousands of kilometers away, and we got to rely on some other people. But we also just have to really dial in on the lending. We have to dial in on the money raised. We have to dial in on all that stuff. So we'll get into that a little bit later, but that's been great. Also, the realtor side of things, I've been busy with that. Dealing with investor clients, and I have a few things coming down the pipe on that. So you guys can get a little behind the scenes before any of that stuff goes live. And who knows, it might be a deal you guys are interested in. But other than that, just getting closer to a nice spring. And we got a little snow this week, which was a reminder that we still live in Nova Scotia, where I'll be out in a t-shirt one day, and then I'll be avoiding driving on any roads the next day.
Yep, that's Nova Scotia for you. I guess let's start off with this Renters Bill of Rights that the federal government just released here last week. And to be honest with you, Ian, I know high level about it. I've seen Instagram posts. I think I saw Trudeau. I saw a clip of him speaking about it, and I thought it was silly, to be honest with you. So I didn't give a whole lot of thoughts to it because I try to control my intake of stuff that I watch on social media, especially if it's just stuff that's not going to bring any value to me. But we were talking before the call. There was one good thing that seems to come out of it about the tenants being able to build credit based off of them paying rent. And I think that's pretty cool. I don't think it's new, but I think the fact that, Trudeau mentioned it publicly and now tenants, hopefully on a wide scale, are aware of it, they'll take advantage of this because building credit, it is important.
Yeah, I know. I've always been an advocate of that. It's like most people's largest expense is their living expenses. And if that's not like showing up on your credit report that for 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, whatever it is, that you've made the biggest financial commitment or biggest financial cost of your day-to-day living year in and year out, and that doesn't apply to helping you then afford a home, it's like it's a broken system there. So I really hope they follow that up with something really meaningful, because that will actually make a big difference for people that are really trying to better their lives by buying a house. So if that part comes true and they do that properly, I am 100% for it.
As am I. But some other aspects of it all, I think, that are kind of silly is, especially like in Ontario and Nova Scotia, tenants have rights. That's what these tenancy boards kind of dictate. If a tenant doesn't pay us rent here in Nova Scotia, it's a process to get them out. In Ontario, it's a long, long process to get them out. It's not like, it's easy for landlords to just get tenants out willy-nilly. So it's something to keep in mind. And one other thing that I think is also kind of silly is that the average price points for homes in Canada has skyrocketed over the past few years, right? Obviously, in Toronto, it's 1.3 million, and Vancouver, it's 1.2 million for the average home, and the average wage for a Canadian is $60,000. There's no credit score that's going to be good enough that will, you can have the best credit score in the world, but if you can't afford these houses, there's nothing you can do, right? So affordability is still a massive issue here in Canada, and that's not going to be fixed by a tenant's bill of rights and them being able to build credit off of that. So I think what this is just I don't know. The government, they do little things like this to just kind of make it look like they're doing stuff, but they're not really doing anything.
Absolutely. It's like, Trudeau, you want to help us out. It's like, make things more affordable. Like, let's not throw in a carbon tax. Let's not throw in all these other things. Let's maybe reconsider the immigration. Let's look at some of these bigger issues and not just try and throw us a bone here, because really it's not helping. It's just pretending to help. So yeah, at the end of the day, it's like it's a nice gesture, but if you really want to have the people of Canada benefit, it's like we have to actually make some changes that are actually going to help Canadians. So that's like my little take on it. I'm sure a lot of people feel the same, but yeah, I mean, thanks for thinking of us, but would appreciate it if you actually did something that made a difference in really yeah, making things better. So yeah, so I guess that would be our quick take on that. I'm sure you'll see a million other takes out there, but from us, that's our take. It's nice gesture, doesn't really mean much.
Also, do you know what's his name? Ron, the mortgage guy. Do you follow this guy on any socials?
I'm not sure if I do.
Oh, you should follow this guy, man. He's like this crockety old dude that's just like in the mortgage world. He had a great breakdown of it. Pretty much, he was just talking about like all these things that Trudeau and the federal government are trying to kind of put in place. They have no jurisdiction to do so. You know, a lot of these things are provincially controlled. So they
Yeah.
can just talk about these things just to kind of try to spin the narrative like they're doing stuff, but like they don't have that much control. It's province to province. What they do and how they run it is really like the thing that's going to move the needle. But anyways, that's just our quick takes on it. We'll move on to something a little bit more exciting. We'll talk about this 97 unit deal. And yeah, Ian, I'll let you talk about the financing, man. Like financing can make or break a deal. And when you guys hear about the types of terms that we're getting quoted and how it's helping our numbers, it'll just your jaws will drop. So Ian, I'll let you take it away.
Yeah, so we'll start with that because that was kind of news we got earlier in the week. Then we'll transition into, so we had a call with our cross-border accountants and our cross-border lawyers. We brought everyone together and just got on a call and saw, okay, how's this going to affect this? How's this going to affect this? So we'll get into some of the corporate structure that they've proposed. But yeah, before that, we'll get into some of the lending side of things. So up here in Canada, like you'll sometimes hear that we can get a mortgage plus improvements, and that can be a really sweet deal. Certainly something I've taken advantage of in the past. You buy in most people's cases, you buy a house, but you need a new roof, you need new windows, you need a new kitchen or whatever it is. They'll give you a percent, and it all depends on your ratios. It all depends on the type of lender you're working with, all that stuff. They'll give you a percent of the costs that you have to then go and fix. You will typically spend that money out of your pocket. Then an inspector will come and they will say, okay, we see that you've put in a new roof or a new kitchen or whatever it is. Then you'll get a check back from your actual lender. So it's a great strategy. Technically, you're just borrowing from yourself by adding additional amounts to your mortgage, but it gets you into a home you're more comfortable with, and it's not just money out of pocket. So now we look at this from the US side, and this is something that we've done on some of the deals we've already closed on. So we'll get the purchase, which we'll get anywhere from 70 to 80%, or I guess probably 60. I think our lowest was about 64% up till call it 70% of loan to value. So we'll have to buy something and we'll have to put down 30 to 40% on this asset. Then on some of our deals, we'll just do all the renovations. And for those of you that have been listening for a while, we are trying to buy buildings that need a good chunk of renovation, capital expenditures, all that good stuff. So we'll raise enough for the down payment, and then we'll raise a good chunk for the capital expenditures, the unit turns, whatever it might be. We on this deal have shopped it around to a few different lenders, and we were pretty blown away with the first lender that said they'll give us 75% loan to cost. So it doesn't matter what the value is, it's just this is what we have it under contract for. You guys have to come up with a 25% down payment. We were then blown away again when they said, you guys raise 25% of the capital expenditures and we'll provide 65 to 75% of the capital expenditures. We've now met a new lender who said we'll do 75% loan to cost and we'll do 100% of your capital expenditures. And our minds just were like, holy, because what that effectively does for us is it means our equity share is much less diluted. So instead of now raising $2.5 million for this project, we now have to get only raise, call it $1.5 million. And what that means is that the equity that we have to raise for this project, whether it be down payment, capital expenditures, is how we divide up equity in this project. So I think in previous podcasts, we mentioned that we typically will do 50% for the active partners and 50% for the passive partners. Now, if we have to raise in this on the same deal $2.5 million, so it's that $2.5 million that's split between the active and the passive partners. If we push that to now only being $1.5 million, then everyone's equity is going to go up, not quite double, but 40% up on this project. So it means all of our returns are going to look greater, all of our cash on cash returns, our IRR, our ROI, all those numbers are going up by like 30, 40%. And it's just been absolutely crazy. So I know even after our call here, I'm chatting with the main lenders again and bringing this forward to them and saying, listen, like if we can run this scenario, this deal goes from and most of our other deals were probably around a 4 times equity multiplier. And in this scenario, we'll be pushing to like almost a 7.5, 8 times equity multiplier on like a 3-year project. So that means it's almost an 8 times return on whatever money is invested in this deal. So yeah, I know in our group chat we heard that information. We saw the term sheet from the other lender, and we were all just like jaws on the floor. Like it was absolutely crazy. So we're certainly exploring all those options. Obviously, we can't really market the deal till we have a better handle on the whole deal. So capital expenditures, on the financing terms, on the structure, all that type of stuff. But this is moving in a direction that is just absolutely blowing my mind.
Yeah, there was a text there from one of our partners, Haran, that said pretty much in jest that this deal is too good to be true. And like investors, if they see this deal, they're going to expect all of our deals like this to be unreal moving forward. And like this is a unicorn deal, what it's kind of shaping up to be. And like one of the biggest takeaways here is just the difference between Canada and USA is just the different lending products that there are. Here Canada, you have your big banks, some credit unions, or you can go to some private lenders. But like the private lenders, they're expensive. They're very expensive versus what these guys are offering. Like the debt is not cheap, mind you. The interest rates might be a little higher, but come on, like if they're paying for 100% of the capex, and it's a no-brainer. If you can use the bank's money to kind of do renovations, and especially with the lift that we know is possible with this project, the upside is just unreal. This is going to be a fun one, guys. I can't wait. I can't wait for you guys to follow along on the journey with it. But you said one thing in there too, Ian, that I'm sure the lawyer would have cringed about marketing. Marketing these kinds of deals, it's not straightforward. Because now we're talking about the SEC, or in Ontario the Ontario Securities Commission, Nova Scotia. I think every province has their own securities commission. And there's very, very specific rules about how you go about talking about these deals. And we can't just come out here and try to sell you guys on a deal publicly. That's illegal, and we're not going to be doing that. But what we can do is we'll just tell you about the deal. This is what we're going through. Like, we're just explaining to you our journey about how we found the deal, how we're financing it. In the future, we'll get into the numbers a little bit more specifically for you guys too, because I've had a couple of people that have reached out to me and said, "Hey, I'd like a nice little breakdown of the numbers." I'm like, "We can do that all day. You guys, your jaws will drop, right?" So, but yeah, the lawyer, he was a cool guy. I liked him, but he was very straightforward about like how to word things, because yeah, that's the legality of things, and the Security Commission will have like college students that will like peruse through Facebook groups and just to kind of catch people slipping, little things like that. So you have to be careful when you talk about these big deals, when you're talking about syndications. This is not, you're not JVing a duplex. In fact, the way people market duplexes and stuff online, that's definitely not legal as well. But like, they just don't seem to get caught, maybe, but for these bigger deals, millions of dollars being raised, you need to follow the rules. You need to follow the rules, or else you can go to jail. Like, just straight up. There's no, I'm not being hyperbolic by any means. Like, you can get in some serious trouble if you do this the wrong way.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it was pretty eye-opening too, and it's like the difference. So like when we get a lot more of this settled, so maybe around the time that this podcast actually comes out, you guys are listening to this, some of our marketing material might be out there on that. And yeah, some of the big distinctions were like, we can't just like, you can't just, we can't market saying, "Hey, invest with us." That's like a big one. It's like, "Hey, here's a deal we're doing. Do you want to find out more?" Step two is we actually have to get you guys to sign off on something saying, I'm an accredited investor, or I have a relationship with you guys, or whatever it might be. And that is a huge difference. So we can't just like solicit this to everyone saying, "Listen, there's the potential of a 7-8% or 8 times multiplier on this deal." We have to say, "This is a deal that we're doing. If you want to learn out more, go ahead and get in touch with us." Then once you guys get in touch with us, we have to determine, are you accredited investors or not? The difference on some of our past deals, because we were doing them more as just larger joint ventures, it's like, we're going to partner on this deal, take this deal down, go at it. So we were a little more loose in the way we were explaining things. Moving forward, when we're doing these larger deals, it's very much so by the book. We might even get audited by the SEC to say, "What's your relationship with X investor?" And if we haven't proved that you're accredited, that you signed off on the proper form saying that you understand the risks, you understand blah, 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 then yeah, we can get fined, we can do jail time, we can do all sorts of things. And again, just like where we're at in the world with risky money and risky deals and all this type of stuff, like they're absolutely cracking down on this type of stuff. So yeah, it was super informative to chat with our lawyers and just say, this is what we can say, this is what we can't say. So yeah, you'll notice that the way we've marketed deals in the past will be much different than how we market these deals.
No, big time, big time. It's like, especially the idea, some people say like, guaranteed returns on any type of investment that they kind of pitch. That's just the biggest red flag you'll ever see. Like, that the paper that you said that they have to sign, it's just like risk. They just want to make sure that anybody that goes into these deals understands the risk that is involved. Obviously, we do everything that we can to de-risk the investment as much as possible by, controlling all of the factors that we can control. But in any investment where there's potential double digit returns, there's going to be risk. And it's just making sure that any investor that goes into the deal is well aware of that risk and they can go in accordingly. That's why, I used to think the accredited investor thing was kind of like just not fair. It's like, oh, it only allows the rich to get richer. But the more I thought about it over time, accredited investors, obviously they have more money than, your average Joe. And if the investment does go terribly wrong for some reason and it goes to zero and they lose all their money, they'll probably be fine. Versus that mom and pop where, they might have 100 grand, 200 grand in their retirement account or something. And if that goes wrong and they lose all that money, that's going to just, destroy their lives. And the government trying to protect them and stop that is, I guess it's not a bad thing, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and I guess a reminder, an accredited investor, and it's a little bit different in the States than it is in Canada. And don't quote me on this, but I think it's about $180,000 for an individual's income, or about 300,000 for a family, or over $1 million of equity in other properties other than not counting your primary.
Yeah, it's something right along those lines. And I think there's even some occupations that are like automatically accredited. Like I think it might have been like doctors, lawyers, dentists. I forget there might have been a couple other ones because these are just generally high income jobs anyway. All that to say that being an accredited investor is definitely something that we're going to be targeting towards our investors moving forward. We'll allow friends and families into our deals according to the rules that are allowed. But yeah, raising money from accredited investors, I'm sure you'll agree with me, Ian. In the past, it's much easier. These people, they're usually savvier with their capital, or they have people that are helping them, they're on their teams that can kind of see if it's a good deal or not. But yeah, as we scale up and we go after bigger deals, we're going to be raising money from people with deeper pockets, and yeah, it'll just make our life a whole lot easier. But at the same time, we still want to let people with less capital kind of into our deals, but on a basis that it's legal. You have to be friends. It can't just be strangers coming in our deals with like 50K or 25K, because that is against the rules, and I am not prepared to go to jail.
No, likewise. Yeah.
I guess
So,
maybe Ian, let's transition. Let's talk about some stuff you got going on, man. You were telling me before the realtor life is kind of picking up.
yeah, absolutely. So, again, I got my real estate license. I live, breathe all this stuff. I started in Halifax with duplexes, some single families, some flips, all that type of stuff, Airbnb, then got more into the multifamily world. So I've lived the trials and tribulations of what a lot of the clients I intend to work with. So I have that insight. I have that knowledge base for actually, teaching people of the mistakes I've learned on, and giving people the insight that will actually help them be profitable. So on that, yeah, I had a very productive week in the realtor space. Signed up 2 new duplexes today, and later this afternoon, I'm signing up 3 more condos, all for people to sell and then invest in larger assets. So, yeah, for anyone that's not aware or not in tune with the market, like, things are certainly picking up, even though interest rates haven't, cut themselves in half or anything. They just show that they are intending to slowly decrease them over the next year or so. But yeah, that's really just enough to get people back interested in the market here. So, yeah, on that note, anyone that is looking to do any investing, I, I can certainly help you out with that. It's my expertise. It's something that I'm very familiar with, and something that I enjoy doing. Yes, we're out trying to buy these, 100-unit buildings, but I certainly got my start in Halifax doing these smaller deals. And if you guys certainly want to learn to continue to grow that portfolio, just keep listening to these podcasts, because we're giving you week by week updates on how we're growing and managing our portfolios as well. So that's yeah, shameless plug, but that's what we're up to.
Amazing. And I want to, this is a live thing right now too. Being a property owner and a landlord, sometimes on social media, it might seem sexy, but it's not. When you're in the trenches, I want to share with you guys an email we literally just received. Ian, you probably haven't even read it yet. It's seven minutes old. A tree fell onto a power line at one of the properties that we own in Cleveland, and the power is now out because of that. And they have to deal with this accordingly, and they have to come. They have to talk to us and see how we want to deal with it. So, like, these little things happen. This is on the medium size scale of things, but like things can get worse, and you have to be able to adapt and deal with things as they come. Being a landlord, it's not easy. People think it's easy and like we're getting just filthy rich from it, but like it's not. It's a wealth builder for sure over time. That's why we definitely preach everybody to get into it. But it's a grind, guys. It's a grind, and you have to stay with it. And having a team of people around you that can motivate you and be alongside of you along the journey will make your life a whole lot easier versus just going at it alone and just struggling. So that's kind of why we have this podcast too, just kind of share with you guys some trials and tribulations that we go through and how we deal with them. And hopefully when stuff goes wrong in your lives, which I hope nothing does, but obviously, stuff happens in people's lives in their portfolios. So you have to be able to handle it. And yeah, we're here for you guys. If you have any questions about anything, please don't hesitate. But besides that, Ian, anything else you kind of want to chat about this week before we kind of wrap it up?
No, I would say, yeah, guys, stay tuned. Yeah, have more chat. We have personally more chats with our lenders, more chats with our team, more chats with just pushing this deal along. Any of the fun, juicy tidbits that we learn or that we're discovering for ourselves or whatever it might be, we're happy to share. So yeah, if you guys want to follow along this journey of us closing on a 97 unit building, you guys know where to find us.
Absolutely. And also, we're going to have some pretty cool guests coming on here in the next few weeks. So just keep your ears tuned. It's not just going to be me and Ian talking your guys' ear off every single week. We'll have some cool guys that are doing some pretty incredible stuff in the real estate and in the business world. So yeah, stay tuned. And on that note too, if you think that you're doing some cool stuff and you'd like to share your journey, whether you're just starting off and you're doing cool things or you're experienced and you just kind of want to get on our pod and tell us your journey and tell our viewers and listeners your journey, send us a DM. We'll try to arrange it as soon as we can. But on that note, guys, I would like to thank you again for listening to the Refined Real Estate Podcast. Please, I ask you to go on YouTube and give us a like, comment, subscribe. On Apple, on Spotify, same thing. Guys, you don't understand how far that goes for us, or a share, even a reshare. If you don't want to do all that, if you can just go click the share button and send it to a friend. If you learned anything from us, if you gained any value from what we talked about, and you can share it along to one person and they become a viewer, then I am very grateful for you. But on that note, guys, thank you again for listening, and we'll see you guys next week.